the meeting to order at, what time is it?
6:03.
6:03. And the report out from closed session.
If I may, this is a item 4.2 in closed session. It's a confidential pupil personnel student matter regarding student waivers, and we had 8 of these. Student waiver 2021-01 was motioned by Trustee Del Rey, seconded by Trustee Lopez, passed unanimously. Student waiver 2021-02 was motioned by Trustee McAllister, second by Trustee Del Rey, passed unanimously. Student waiver 2021-03 was motioned by Trustee Lopez, second by Trustee McAllister, passed unanimously. Student waiver 2021-04 was motioned by, did I say this one already? Del Rey. I'll say it again. Trustee Del Rey, seconded by Trustee McAllister, was passed unanimously. Student waiver 2021-05 was motioned by Trustee Lopez, seconded by Trustee McAllister, passed unanimously. Student waiver 2021-06 was motioned by Trustee Del Rey, seconded by Trustee McAllister, passed unanimously. Student waiver 2021-07 was motioned by Trustee Del Rey, seconded by Trustee McAllister, passed unanimously. And student waiver 2021-08 was motioned by Trustee Lopez and seconded by Trustee McAllister and was passed unanimously.
Thank you, Mike. And
you're welcome.
I want to say thank you to the board for supporting that initiative. I think, we've all talked about it, but it was really important to us that students' lives weren't hijacked by the pandemic. And so it's great to work for you all and who had compassion and can see how kids' lives have been affected negatively by this and doing what we can to make sure that they can continue to pursue their next educational endeavor. So thank you.
And if I can make a comment that, in short discussion inside was that we are all convinced, if that's the right word, not necessarily in closed session, but after reading the request for waivers, 2 things. One, that this was essential for the graduation of these students and their well-being, and that everything that can be done or could be done to support these students in their learning as well as their emotional lives is being addressed and will continue to be addressed. So I just want to congratulate our staff for the hard work that they have done around this, excuse me, and wish our students the best. And we hope once they're out of graduation, we will continue to support them in any way they need. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mike. Okay, do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
We do have a couple revisions that I want to make sure people are aware of. In consent, item number 10.3, the personnel action report, there was a minor revision that was made and is now included in the packet, so you can see it on the website. So there's an additional resignation that was posted. And then in item number 11.1, specifically the Fitch Mountain site specific COVID safety plan, and that is a legal term. This was updated yesterday in the packet. There were actually just a few typos that really weren't significant, didn't change meaning, but we wanted to clean it up. So we caught them and put them in there, and now they're fixed in the packet. And then finally, thank you, Robin Doherty, who caught an accidental deletion or language that was left out of the final HADA MOU, and we'll display that when we get to that item, but just some language around CTE and how to address CTE courses in the schedule that we've come up with. So I'll walk you through that when we get there, but those are the only changes to the agenda.
Okay, thank you. All right, and Franny, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes, you can stand. And Karen, do you have our flag for us?
I won. Nope.
All right. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible.
with liberty and justice
with
for all.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Franny.
Welcome.
Okay. Celebrating our success, 8.1, Corazon Hillsburg, partnership with Hillsburg Unified School District.
I'm going to hand it off to Aaron Fender. But I just want to say thank you to our community partners that are here from Corazon, and we're excited to be partnering with you on so much. So Aaron, do you want to introduce them?
Yeah, I can kick off the evening. So good evening, everybody. My name is Aaron Fender. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for the school district. Really happy to have the CEO of Healdsburg Corazon here, Glyden, and I'm gonna try because names are important. Glyden de Freitas Filho.
Perfect.
Close. Like, feel free to correct me. And Marcy Flores here, who is in charge of their education initiatives. We have worked with Corazon Healdsburg over the years. I think the partnership is strengthening. I'm really excited to invite them here. They're going to run us through some of the kind of marquee partnerships that we have. And you know, like I said, it's been a great partnership. I feel so fortunate for our district and our families that we have a bilingual resource center and we have an organization such as this in our community. It's been much needed for many, many years, and we're already starting to see the fruits of their labor. So Glyden and Marcy, I'm going to turn it over to you guys, and they're going to present, and we'll have a little bit of time for questions at the end.
Well, thank you very much, Erin. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much, Chris, for inviting us to come here, Superintendent Chris. Tonight, we are talking a little bit about Corazon for those who are familiar with Corazon already, but for those who are not familiar with Corazon. For both of this kind of audience, we have some new things going on in Corazon right now, and it's concerning our nonprofit organization. Corazon is a nonprofit organization here in Hillsburg, who was created, right, to build bridges to address the racial, economic, and social divides in the northern Sonoma County. And through that mission statement, a lot of different initiatives in different dimensions came with Corazon. Corazon started helping the community to build those bridges through events and through community building initiatives like the Dia de los Muertos, with some committee to listen the community and trying to give a voice for the community that's overserved, especially the Latino community, right? And then very in the early stage of Corazon, it was very difficult for us to bring the community to talk about big issues if our community has immediate needs like education, like food security, like housing security, so many different problems, right? And so Corazon launched a resource center that can connect our community to different services, and out of that created their own programs, right, to fill in the gaps for services that we don't have available. So now Corazon we are a nonprofit organization that grew a lot, especially because of the fires and COVID-19 from last year. We, in 1 year, grew our staff from 4 to 16. Now we are a staff of 16 people working directly in Corazon. And since my arrival, I am the new CEO of the organization. I arrived in November of last year. And since my arrival, we initiated a strategic planning for Corazon for the next 5 years. We are expecting to finalize this process in next month, in April, but a lot of things already came up from this process that it's going on. We think that Corazon adds value to the community when empower the individual, focusing the individual and the family, focusing on their self-sustainability and self-reliance. We think that Corazon adds a value to the community when it elevates and amplifies the voice of the Latino community. And we think that Corazon adds value to the community when we bring people together and we strengthen the whole community. So I'm trying to say that because we have in Corazon these three dimensions: the individual and the families, the collective, and the collective is the Latino community, and the whole community of Hillsburg and Northern Sonoma County. So we have initiatives, strategic initiatives to cover these three dimensions, that they are independent, but at the same way harmonic among each other. So pretty much in our individual branch, or in the individual pillar, we have programs, socio-economic programs, but we also have educational programs. And most of our initiatives for the individual is going to be focused on the educational programming, right? We want to create an intentional, targeted, and coherent or cohesive approach that goes from the early childhood to the adult education. What can we add value to this community in this line of education? So I want to introduce Marcy Flores, who is our Director of Academic Advancement at Corazon, and she's currently working with some important programs, important initiatives that we are currently partnering with the district. And without this partnership, our intervention wouldn't be as successful as it is being, right? So before she introduced, thank you very much for the opportunity for this partnership, and we really look forward to scale, and also to present new opportunities for us to partner. So Marcy, can you talk a little bit about our current initiatives under your branch?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Glennon, and good evening to all of you board members and community members. Thank you for having us here today. One of these programs that we partner with, HUSD, is our first-gen counseling program, college counseling program. So as many of you may know, the mission of First Gen is to provide one-on-one college counseling for students and their families to create individualized education plans to match the students' strengths and career aspirations with corresponding four-year colleges and scholarship opportunities. And a lot of the benefits of these programs are increased opportunity for admission into four-year university, one-on-one college counseling, summer programs, parent education workshops, because we believe educating the parents is a key factor in the success of a student, and financial support. And this partnership with HUSD includes access to Student Aries portal, so that our college counselor can see the success and struggles of each student. And we work in conjunction with the principal, the counselors, and parent outreach and education assistant to meet the individual needs as it relates to the college admission process. And this is very crucial because there's things that we can do as a program with the college counseling, but the other aspect of the partnership with HUSD and making sure that we are both supporting the student for their success is really crucial. And as of now, we've had 15 HUSHS first gen graduates. So 6 graduates in 2019, 9 graduates in 2020, and we've had 15 have been accepted to four-year colleges. So that's a typo right there, it's not HES. And then we currently have 12 12th graders, 10 current 11th graders, and 13 current 10th graders. And as of now, we do not have 9th graders enrolled into our program, and a lot of that had to do with COVID. So, but we are, in the process of getting new recruitment and outreach, which is actually crucial for us with the partnership of HUSD, as these students are recruited by the school district, and that's counselors, that's teachers, that's everyone who can identify within the school district who would meet the first-gen qualifications. And then we also have the Kinder to College program, and that is also a huge benefit to students starting at an early age of kindergarten. So the mission is to create a college-going culture among families and children who attend Northern Sonoma County schools. So that's HES, AVS, West Side, and Geyserville. to increase post-secondary education attendance by decreasing the financial burden. And the benefits are creating a college-going culture for families as well as the school district. And each student is eligible for up to $600 to put towards their college savings account. Children with college savings from $1 to $499 are 3 times more likely to attend college and 4 times more likely to graduate from college. So this is, you know, a huge opportunity for students by us providing, you know, a college savings account with these incentives, and providing financial literacy to parents, and that can include how to write a check, for example, or, you know, if they don't have a bank account, setting up a bank account and doing that financial literacy education. And the HUSD partnership is really crucial in this aspect, as well, as we cannot do what we do without student demographics information to open up these college savings accounts, and school workshops and program development support. There's a lot of development in the process right now for our Kinder to College program, and we are going to be seeking a lot of support from the district with that, and staff or communication and outreach also. And we are actually right now have an opt-in system, and we are working with the school district to provide an opt-out system so that we can reach out to every single student in the school district, and there are no gaps. And as of now, we have 110 HES college savings accounts that are created. 60 of those are free and reduced lunch students, and with over just a little over $20,000 that has been allocated into these college savings accounts. And we are still going forward. We still have a lot of accounts that we are processing as of today. So anyone who is interested in Kinder to College, and this is from kindergarten through 3rd grade, anyone within kinder, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade at HES can participate in our Kinder to College program, and we can open up savings accounts. And there are no requirements for this program other than attend HES, AVS, Westside, or Geyserville school districts. So yeah, that's a little bit about Kinder to College and our 1st Gen program.
Thank you, Marcy. So those are the current programs that we have for individuals that we told that we partner with the school district. We have 2 other initiatives that are going on in partnership with the school district. The first one is the fundraising efforts that we are doing for Camp Hillsborough 2.0. Right, it's the learning care support for working families during COVID-19. It's the program who is not familiar with that. It's held by now with conjunction with the city of Hillsborough. There are classes, instructors that welcome kids during their distance learning. Generally, the kids whose parents needs to work and don't have time to follow the development of the kids during this distance learning. So the kids pretty much go to the community center with the instructor, COVID safe and respecting protocol, and they open their laptops and they are able to participate in the classes of the distance learn with the aid with an adult instructor, trained instructor. So this is going on since last summer. We had like 2 extensions, right? And we are still fundraising for this semester that's finishing in June. We were very successful. The school district helped a lot on that initiative too. Our gap for our fundraise initiative is no more than $20,000. So we are almost there, and we are very optimistic that we're gonna get these funds and have this initiative going on at least until this semester. Now it's a good thing that the schools are coming back to in person. Our intention is to transform first, according to the school calendar, we're gonna transition Camp Hillsborough to a hybrid mode too, right? That we are doing the distance learning for the days that the kids are not going to school in person, but also trying to implement some after school programming for the same kids. And at the end or next semester, thinking about what we can do with after school just to continue the same model, which was very successful. The last but not less important is another dimension of Coração's work. We talked about the individual, but we also have the other pillars for the collective and the community building. And this initiative, I think it's beautiful that the school district accepted that call. It's beautiful that Coração's effort in the past aimed at that, and me coming as a new CEO and seeing that already in place, it really enriches my heart. It's supporting ethnic studies in our community. It was like a double realization that our teachers, instructors, employees, and everybody who works pretty much with minority groups, and we're talking about Latino or indigenous, right? We need to be self-aware about this racial dynamics, right? And for this reason, we are partnering with the school district. Our part's financing the training and professional development for the school district staff and board members with a cost educational partnership. I think most of you are already aware with that. Not only your board, but we took advantage and we are training our own board, right? We don't have for granted that just because our board works with the Latino community that we are self-aware with our own biases and our own prejudices, right? It's a self-realization, so it's very empowering, this partnership. So our boards participate in that. And now we are bringing the Acosta partnership, not only for the board, but for the staff too, and including them in our strategic planning retreat, so we can work in synergy and having this conversation about race, about equality, but inputting this conversation in our development for the strategic priorities. So this is it's been so successful. And last week we were talking with Erin, and we were talking about the updates and the new things that are coming out of this partnership, and we are very optimistic for that. So this is pretty much what Coração is doing with the school district. There's so many other initiatives that we want to expand this partnership. There's so many other things that we are very excited to bring for your appreciation, and I hope that we can expand and scale our participation in the school district. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Glayden and Marcy. That was really great. And, you know, like you said, just this kind of scratches the surface. These are some marquee initiatives, but we know that you know, food security, housing security, education for our mothers and our little kids. It's just such a gift to have an organization like Corazon Healdsburg operating and getting stronger every day in our community. And you know, I know that Superintendent Vanden Heuvel and all of us in the district really want to continue to help strengthen the organization and the partnership that we have. So board members, any questions for any of us?
No questions, but I want to say that I think it's incredibly powerful what we can accomplish working together. And I mean, that Camp HBG is an amazing example of fast action that was taken to fill this huge need that was just an incredible problem for our community. And it's just, I'm so proud to be part of a community that can do this, that can work together, pull together resources, raise the money. I mean, it's exciting. And I can't wait. I mean, hopefully we won't have another crisis like this that we have to jump on, but I can't wait to see what's in the future, because this is awesome. Fantastic. Thank you and welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Glayden, very much. And thank you, Marcy. I also just want to thank all of you for all of your work, and I want to thank the community. And I want to just give credit to the founders, the co-founders of Corazon, because it's amazing what they have been able to accomplish. And you know, this started off as Scopa Has a Dream in 2011. by Ari and Donalise and Ariel. And I just want to thank them for all of their work to get us to this point where we are offering these amazing levels of support for our students and our community. It's just so beautiful. And when I share what we're doing here in Hillsburg through Corazon Hillsburg and our partnership with them, with my family that do not reside in Hillsburg, they're very envious of what we have here. So thank you for all of the support that you provide. And again, shout out to those co-founders that dreamt this up for our community, because it's made a big difference.
Just two comments. I totally agree with what's been said. And I think you underplayed first gen, the scholarships and the kids going to various colleges. Certainly the summer program, at least 2 years ago, was outstanding. But also, I won't call out the student, but the full scholarship to Notre Dame for one of our students, 4-year ride to Notre Dame, outstanding in that area. And also, Glenn, you were at our Rotary Club here Monday. You mentioned some other things that Corazon is doing regarding education. Would you spend like 1 minute and just kind of going that, so everybody, the public, if you will, gets kind of a view of that as well?
Of course, yes. We are planning, we are finalizing the plan, and what we are doing is to trying to create a cohesive since the early childhood, right, to the adult education. But we want to try to fill the gap. For example, some things, early childhood or child care, right? That we know that is scarce here in our community, and something needs to be done, right? So how we can take advantage of our kinder to college initiatives and help families to think about this going to college or college going culture since the beginning, and trying to connect all the dots with early childhood. And then in the middle school, right, what kind of after school programs that we can take advantage and can offer to the community through, for example, volunteers that are already committed, right, to be mentors or to our kids after schools, not only for the enrichment like school or sorry, music or arts, but also to provide them some guidance and mentorship with their difficulties or with even their talents, right, in middle school, with science, math, and all those things, but in a very programmatic and intentional things. And after that, right, nowadays for the high school, we are providing first gen, but what else? What about the other population or the other students that probably do not qualify for first gen, but has other skill that needs to be developed, or it's not interested to go to the academic 4-year school, but is interested to other technical or other pathway in the career, right? Not academic, but in the career wise, what kind of training, what kind of information we can bring and support and counseling for this kind of students too. So how can we integrate all the services instead of having programs, isolated programs, integrating all the services and think in this logic in a long term? Because for us to achieve our mission and bridge the gap, you work with education. You know that through education, right, I think it's the only solution, right? So we partnering with the formal education that you guys provide in your schools, but with some support and some other holistic approach to the educational ecosystem, right? I think we can always add value to the community on that. Did I summarize what we talked on Monday, Mike?
All I remember was, and I just had a couple of notes there, was after you mentioned after school homework enrichment, you talked about possibly a marching band, Raven Theater, working with them. Yeah. Marcus Shelby maybe showing up at some point. Just offered, those things to bring to our community are exciting.
Yeah, when we were talking about what we can do this after school, for example, Senora Yolanda Hiron, who is a community member, very active in our community here in conversations. She already connected us with a band who wants to a martial band that wants to teach our students. When I talk about this initiative with Marcus Shelby, he said, I can put as many instructors you want me to put. So it's only about converging interests and mobilizing the resources that already that's already in place, right? We just need to like goodwill, a little bit of creativity, and just bring that the resource that's already in place. And Corazon, I think that's the DNA of Corazon, connecting the dots, bringing everybody together and building community, right? So that's our intention. That's what we continue to do because of Aris and Donelise and Ariel's so that continues to exist here, and they are very involved until today. So Araceli, it's a good call to highlight their participation. They're still very active. They are our backbone, let's say that, right?
Thank you.
Exciting times.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you all so very much. We really appreciate all your work.
Yeah, thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you for your time and just amazing work and stitching all the little pieces of fabric that are out there flapping around together. And, you know, we had a good conversation about early childhood education and some partnerships that probably will be able to develop here, I think, sooner rather than later. So thank you so much, Marcy. Thank you, Glyden, and have a good evening. Feel free to hang out here, but, you know, I know it's been a long day, and feel free to depart as you wish.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to public comments on non-agenda items. The public may address the board on any consent action item or item not listed on the agenda. Pursuant to the Brown Act, during this period, the board cannot consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. Time is limited to 3 minutes per person. And if you'd like to participate, please send a message using the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. Please identify yourself and the agenda item on your specific topic in the chat comment. You will be called to speak in the order it was received or when the agenda item is discussed.
Do you have any public comments, Karen? No. Okay.
Okay, great.
Sorry, we do not.
All right, approval of the consent agenda. Do we have any comments or a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Rose, second. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Public comments on agenda items. Members of the public have the right to address the governing board on any item of interest, providing it relates to the subject matter. Okay, so we are going to move on. I think I've already read that one. 11.1, student learning, equity, and school culture. Resolution number 21-13, declaring instructional method for the 2020-2021 school year due to COVID-19.
So it is my absolute pleasure to be presenting this to you. This is the first and what I hope is 3 or 4 very happy topics about bringing our kids back to school in person after what's been an incredibly long and frustrating and for our kids, anxiety-ridden year for all of us, really, not just the students. So we couldn't be more pleased. Everything seems to be I was going to say falling into place. It's not falling into place at all. It's been a humongous lift. I want to recognize the amazing work our administrators have done, the leadership from our teachers, down to every classroom teacher, our classified leadership. Everybody has pitched in and worked together to find a safe and sustainable way to bring our kids back to school. So we are in a position to declare April 1st as the first day of in-person learning for elementary and April 5th for secondary. That said, actually, we will have orientation days on the 1st and the 2nd for both 6th grade and 9th grade. So technically our secondary schools will be open in the eyes of the state because we'll have 1 grade level at each of the secondary schools open. So couldn't be more pleased, very excited to see kids back on campus. And I can tell you just from talking to people, to my kids and their friends and hearing from other parents that everybody is very excited to take this first step back to normalcy. We're not there yet in terms of being in a normal state, but it does feel good to be going in this direction.
That's great.
Any questions about the resolution or the dates?
No, it's super exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you for all your work, because I know that's a very heavy lift. And I really appreciate all the communication that's gone out in regards to this, and the input that's been sought. So thank you for all of that work.
Absolutely. And you know, it was done by everybody in the district. And I will say it again, especially Diane Conger and our two nurses, Varsi Hansen and Kristen Robinson, who have been incredible wading through the shifting guidance and sometimes conflicting guidance from the various government agencies. They have been absolutely incredible, and none of this would have happened without them. So
Yay, thank you.
Yeah.
Bravo.
So it is a resolution. So we'll need a motion in a second, and then we'll have to do a roll call.
You have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Go ahead, Crystal.
I'll second.
Thank you, Crystal. Okay, and so this is a roll call vote. Trustee Del Rey?
Aye.
Trustee Potmacell?
Aye.
Trustee McAllister?
Aye.
Trustee Lopez?
Aye.
And aye. Passes unanimously. Great job, everyone. Thank you so much. That's super exciting.
All right, so now we have all the different components of how to reopen the schools. And so our next stop is the district COVID-19 safety plan. And we have a short presentation on this. It does not capture, you have the document in backup. You can see the degree of planning that had to happen from the classroom out to the school sites, from the guidance from the nurses and Diane. The maintenance team has been absolutely incredible, getting our classrooms ready, changing filters and HVAC systems, installing air filters in all of our classrooms, taping off directions in hallways where kids are supposed to go. So again, it's been a major collective effort. And I'll walk you through just a little bit of it now. But you know, I don't want to miss the heavy lift by the maintenance team too. Rob Smith and his team have been absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
So we've done this slide a couple times now, and it probably could have another couple points on it, but this is the changing guidance constantly from the state and Sonoma County Department of Public Health and the CDC. Our latest iteration now is AB 86, which was passed into legislation, and we talked about through the state. And it is attaching dollars to reopening to allow us to make up for some of the learning loss that has occurred. So we're excited to be able to do that and take some extra safety precautions. So, so the COVID safety plan is a comprehensive safety plan for the entire district. It does incorporate a site-specific plan for each campus. It is exhaustive. Very pleased to tell you that last week, while the county was still in purple, not pleased we were still in the purple tier, but we submitted our elementary safety plans, and they were, I think by the day after they had already been approved with some very minor revisions. The junior high and the high school have been submitted just for feedback. The county public health department, now that we're in red, is not required to officially authorize them, but they are giving us feedback to make sure we're on the, that we're doing everything correctly. Our plans are all posted on the HUSD website. That is a condition of reopening. They need to be online 5 days before opening. We're well ahead of our 5-day schedule now. So in there also in this board packet. So continuing, I wanted to just walk you through, we created this dashboard that it's by no means exhaustive, but it does give you a glimpse into all the different moving parts. And I was just going to walk us through it really quickly. And can comment on where we are and some things that are still outstanding. So you see here we have our various plans that we need to have completed. So the COVID safety plan, the last step is for you guys. You see the third row down is for the board to approve. Once you approve, we will green that for this Friday. Negotiations, I'm very pleased to say we have a tentative agreement that we're going to vote on here as I think it's the next item, or there's 2 more items down. So the teachers are currently tentative agreement. Teachers will hopefully be ratifying it tomorrow by vote, and the board will be hopefully ratifying it today. On the district side, CSEA's MOU is done and ready to go. We will be greening our vaccination. So today and then tomorrow are our last days of vaccinations, of second vaccinations for our educators. So secondary went into the Smith Robinson gym today and got our second of the Pfizer vaccine, and he has been going through since Tuesday, actually since late last week, and into tomorrow getting the second of their Moderna vaccines. So really pleased with that. And again, thank you Alliance Medical and SCO for putting the vaccine drives together, and Alliance especially for getting us earlier than we would have been, had been planned. So we're able to open our secondary schools sooner. We have cleaning protocols. We have air scrubbers in classrooms. We are working on almost done with the modified classroom layout. So we went week by week at every site, custodians under the supervision of Rob Smith and Debbie Odetto. I can't miss Debbie Odetto, who has, I mean, not only doing the second interim report, which is a huge amount of work, more than a full-time job, she's overseeing food service and basically changing how we physically do school. And so it's been a lot of work on her part too. We are nearly done at the high school. So that's the last of our schools to have all the classrooms laid out. There's tape on the floor where 6 feet is for everybody, directions in every hallway, on which side of the hallway you're supposed to walk on, getting signage up, et cetera, on every campus. Overseeing the PPE distribution, again, that's our maintenance department. We will have everything, we'll have it all delivered to the sites 1 week before they're to open. But you can see there we have everything in possession. Health screening, so we're going to be temp checking every day as students come in. And so there will be stations. Karen, can you scroll?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So we will be checking students' temperatures and just asking around symptoms that they might have. We have surveillance testing staff ready to go, training people. So we're going to be doing that for our staff. And then we will be testing some of our athletes. So there's requirements around football, indoor sports, et cetera. And so there will be weekly testing for some of the athletes at the high school level. A lot of this stuff has been good to go for a while, so I'm not going to dwell on it. You can continue down, Karen. We have been updating every week to parents with the culmination of town halls over the last 2 weeks, and those are posted and recorded for parents to be able to see if they weren't able to make it. I will tell you, we didn't have a huge turnout for the live, the very first one at HES. I think collectively we might have had 50 people watching it live between Zoom and Facebook. But then a few days later we looked and we had over 1,200 views. And so really feel good about using that modality to reach parents and be able to update on this, everything that's going to happen. So we will be greening our town halls there. We are training staff beginning tomorrow. So tomorrow, elementary teachers at Fitch and HES will be trained on all the protocols and site-specific plans and how to reopen in a pandemic and have kids in your classroom. So training plan for that. And then on Monday following spring break on the 29th, the secondary will be trained. So that'll then turn green on our dashboard. Working on rosters. They're pretty much done at the elementary schools. So we feel good there. We do have one last second staffing issue that we're working on. We nearly have it solved. One teaching position. So hopefully that'll turn green as well on Friday. And then same thing at the high school. We don't have any outstanding staffing there, although we're working on rosters still. It's quite a, you can imagine. So you have class rosters, but half of them are going to be distance learning, and then which days the other kids come, and we need to make sure there's no more than 15 kids in a class at a time. So it's a lot to figure out when you have 100 some odd individual classes at the high school. Athletics has started. I just watched today our second cross country meet, running around the parking lot and the track. We have our first home football game on Saturday against El Molino. Yeah, it's crazy to think. I would normally invite everyone out, but you can't come. So we are allowed to have spectators, but it's only the immediate family of the players. So the public, please do not come. We're going to have to turn you away. That is state law. That is not our rule. But it will be perhaps the last battle for the paddle. That's what we call our game against El Molino. There's actually a paddle that we trade off. And as you may have read, El Molino might be dissolving and being absorbed into Annalee High School. So we need to win that so we can keep the paddle. So we're planning on summer school. You're going to hear an update on that today. and other extended learning. There are clubs and extracurriculars that are starting to open up more and more, so that's fun to see. We are working on securing headsets and microphones for teachers. So there's a concern that when you're wearing a mask in class, you might not be able to project your voice quite as well. So we're going to have every teacher mic'd with some amplification. So we're securing all the technology for that. Extended daycare for elementary, I think is all done. So that'll probably green on this Friday. And just final logistics. So these are just small things that are outstanding that we should all have well done here in the next few days. So really excited to report that we are on track, and barring some unforeseen issue, we should be opening on April 1st. So really excited. Karen, are there more slides? Yeah.
Yes.
Site schedules, I just wanted to walk you through that briefly. These were featured prominently in our town halls. This is HES. This is basically students will be in school live 5 days a week. It does actually, it's worth noting that we have a distance learning option for families. So any family who is not comfortable having their kids come back, it's a pandemic, we understand. We have a distance learning option. But for those that have chosen to come back at HES, because thank you, trustees, we invested in having additional teaching staff, we're able to accommodate 5 days a week. It's a different schedule than normal, but nonetheless, we're going to have them in school every day. Wednesday will be a shortened day. They will go home, and then they have virtual enrichment online. So I'm very pleased to be doing that with the youngest kids. FMC will be slightly different. It's a hybrid schedule. We, because of social distancing protocols, we can't fit all the kids in classrooms all at the same time. And so we'll have an AM group and a PM group. Every student will go to school for 4 days a week at FMC, and they will rotate which teacher they see, but they'll be in an AM or a PM group. And then Wednesdays, they will have online work that they're doing, enrichment, and some independent stuff that their teachers assign. And it's time for the teachers to prep and do group meetings that they can do around planning for student intervention and support and instruction. So continuing on to the high school and junior high, they have very similar schedules. So we found a schedule that allows students to be in all of their classes through the rest of the year, but you will be in person 2 days a week for about 4 hours. And the stable, so if you're in group A, you would come in person to periods 1 through 5 on Monday and Thursday, but you would stay home on Tuesday and Friday and Zoom into your periods 2, 4, 6. Meanwhile, kids in group B will be live in 2, 4, 6, and they would be Zooming on the Mondays and Thursdays when the other students are live. And then we will flip-flop that at 5 weeks and allow students to switch. And so they will have, at one point in the next 10 weeks, they will have gone to every class for a 5-week period in person. So teachers will be teaching online and live in person simultaneously. So they will be mic'd, they will have camera on them, and it is going to be a whole different teaching modality. And it is worth noting, this is, the third different mode of instruction that we've done in the last 12 months. And it's going to take a lot of work for teachers to work out the kinks and figure out the best way to reach their students. But from what we've gleaned from places that have been open, this seems to be the best way to do it. High school is basically the same schedule, so I won't spend any time belaboring that. It's a flip-flopping schedule with the same idea of students coming in 2 days a week and then going to different classes 5 weeks later. So next steps for us. So we will vote tonight to hopefully approve our COVID safety plan, approve our MOUs. We will ratify, or HADA, hopefully the Healdsburg Area Teachers Association will ratify their MOU by vote either tomorrow or Friday. And then we will begin our training, like I said, tomorrow with elementary, and then secondary after spring break, working on class rosters to finish those up, collecting parent compacts. So we do have an agreement with parents that we're asking them to sign. Various things like I acknowledge my child will wear a mask all day, every day in school, as well as if they're symptomatic, I won't send them to school. And if they become symptomatic at school, I will come in a quickest possible manner to pick them up. And again, we're just really looking forward to April 1st and April 5th when we can welcome kids back into our campuses. And I can say I've been on all the campuses and run into teachers, and just about everybody expresses their excitement at being able to see students again live and in person. You know, in a lot of ways, and I think this is true for students and teachers, the joy of education has been robbed over the last 12 months because it's those relationships that we have with each other and that the students have with their peers that bring the joy of learning. And for us as educators, the joy of working with the kids. And it's just been so hard when it's artificial feeling on a screen. So we're just very excited to have them back. And it's just, it's inspiring to be working on it. So any questions about the COVID safety plan? And Diane, you can feel free to jump in if there's anything you think that I should have highlighted, but there is a lot of medical requirements. There's a lot of rules and logistics included in these plans. And I didn't want to spend too much time on any of the details because it's pretty exhaustive.
150 pages.
Yeah.
I think you covered it.
150 pages.
Crystal, you have a question?
Yeah, I just had a question from like a parent perspective. Not that I'm a parent, but a parent perspective. And I think a lot of parents might have the same question. Students who have siblings at the same schools, will they be in the same cohort? So will they be in the morning cohort if they have a sibling in first grade and a sibling in kindergarten? Will they be in that morning cohort, or are we not really?
Well, remember at HES, we don't have cohorts, right? All kids who are coming are coming.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So we're going to do our best at the same school sites, and we're working with parents as much as we can. Unfortunately, the schedules don't line up perfectly, right? Depending on the site. So there are going to be some issues presented there. That said, we do, like we just talked about, have the aftercare or distance learning program still at Camp HBG 2.0. So that's a resource for students and their families if that's an issue. So, you know, if I'm in the Erica, you might want to chime in. I'm going to say
this.
I
was going to say,
yeah,
Erica's here. Great.
I turned my camera on. I was just going to jump in and say that, so at Fitch, we definitely scheduled siblings to be in the same AM or PM cohort. And if an FMC student had a sibling at HES and they were scheduled for the AM group, so at least again, the timing doesn't line up exactly, but kids would be on campus at Fitch from 8 to 10:30, and then their HES campus siblings will be on campus a little bit longer, but at least there's the overlap and it's not morning and afternoon. So we were able to do that with 100% of our kids.
And remind me of, you scheduled all the kids in Camp HBG 2.0 in one cohort. So that
they're all coming in the morning group, and then they will be bused. They'll grab their lunch, and then they'll be bused over to FOSS, or Club HBG.
Right.
Thank you, Erica. That's amazing.
And letters were mailed home today. And so like placements are going to be received by families as long as it, tomorrow or the next day in the mail.
That's a lot of work. So thank you, Erica. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you all.
Yes.
Presentation, you can see just how labor intensive all of this has been. So just thank you all for all of that heavy lifting and planning and all the long hours of preparation, and I'm sure anxiety and stress that you've experienced putting it all together. So thank you.
Well, and you'd think we'd have 80 million questions, but Chris, you've done a good job keeping us all up to date on what's happening and various iterations. I'm just so excited to see it all coming together, and it is unbelievable how much work.
It is incredible. And I've been telling the team since we started this, I believe this will be the heaviest lift any of us have in our educational careers. Talking to Steve Harrington, who's Dr. Harrington's the county superintendent, and he's been a superintendent for 40 years. And he said he's never dealt with anything remotely close to this. So, so yes, the team has been incredible. And when I say team, I mean every person in the district who has jumped in and done everything they can to make it happen for our kids.
Thank you all. It's amazing.
Go ahead.
Oh, I know I'm just reiterating what everyone else already said, but I just know that this planning's gone on practically since the day schools closed to get ready for this reopening. And like you said, Chris, I just think it's everyone, you know, in the district has had their eye on how to make this happen. And so much work has gone into it and so much flexibility and so many changed plans and so much, you know, trying one thing and then trying something else. And I think, you know, all that's going to continue into reopening, but it is an amazing task and amazing achievement. And, you know, we just appreciate it so deeply. So thank you.
Mike,
we all deserve a week break.
Thank you.
No
Mike,
way.
I think you had something you wanted to say.
Well, yeah, a couple of things. One is, you know, when I was reading the health plan, and I did read it, I wrote down some notes and I said, you forget all the notes. I said, it's very thorough. It's nitpicky. And it's absolutely appropriate. I mean, it sounds like those are too general, but that's so right on. And all I could think of were the people, and I can go on, so stop me, you know, or so stop me at any time. But, you know, Diane and Varis and Christine just putting the health plan together, and then Rob and his crew getting it all, everything in place, and then all of the teachers' input and the administration and the classified staff all pulling that together. I just kind of went, you know, just again, I can't even imagine it. I mean, and I have a vivid imagination, believe me. The vaccination piece also was a big piece, as you know, and you know, again, kudos to W. Adetto for working with Alliance to get them in. I want to make a real quick note so y'all know how much we appreciate, and I'm saying this not as a board member because I can't because of what we're doing, but we have offered the Alliance SNAP. These are the medical workers that have come to work with us in Hillsburg and Windsor, apparently, to help them celebrate by taking them hopefully on a tour, maybe feed them, maybe go to one of those, where they have vineyard places. I can't really talk about it at the board meeting because we have students. So we're hoping to be able to put that together. And Lorene Romero, I think it is in Windsor, and our own Brooke Ross here, who works at Hotel Trio, are working to plan some events. So I'm really excited about that because when I was there that day, I saw these workers doing their job and going, haven't you been out? And they go, no, we haven't been out. That aside, I just want you to know, and so Alliance, I'm really thrilled with. And then I was sitting here thinking, how do you honor these people? And I don't know how. So, and I'm sorry, I didn't think I was did this. So I got down to, I said, wait a minute, what is the highest honor there is? And it is maxima cum laude with the very great honor. And that's what if I could bestow on all of you people, from Chris, and I'm looking at Karen and Aaron, and who else is here? You know, Diane, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of you folks that, how do you say, you know, you talk about a big lift, and I made a joke a couple of meetings ago about we're all going to be in great shape, you know, if we were lifting, et cetera. I'm not sure lift is the right word, but I'll go with it. You all, your minds must be in exceedingly good shape in order to make this happen. And then the last thing I would request is I'd like to have a tour. And I don't know if you can put that together, and this is for me, and I invite other board members, but I guess we can't all go. Well, we can go as long as we don't talk. And maybe just
two at a time. Yes.
Anyhow, so yeah, two at a time. But anyhow, because I would like to see, because I have people asking, and I have curiosity, probably more than what I care about people asking, is just to see the setup. You know, hopefully before the kids get there, because I don't want to get in there and get in the way. So that's my simple request, and I just praise to all of you.
Thanks. So with that said, we do need an action for Hillsburg District COVID-19 safety plan that we can go visit. So do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes.
Second, does anyone second?
Second. Or Crystal?
No, you can second, Donna.
All right, Donna, second, and all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Double aye.
Yeah, seriously. Thank you, everyone. All right.
I did want to just reach out to Robin Doherty. She had asked a couple of questions in the chat, and I want to give her the opportunity to make the public comment if she'd like.
Regarding the safety plan?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Hi, Robin.
Hi. So one of the questions that I had, and I've been looking at all of the plans and reading all of those documents, who is in charge of reordering and watching the PPE supplies as the teachers use them up and then they get used up in the district? Is someone in charge of watching all of those supplies and the numbers as they decrease so that new things are ordered? And second, I'm not sure what the name of the machine is called. It's some kind of a fog machine that sprays chemicals throughout the room for a deep cleaning. Is that something that gets used daily, or is that something that just gets used when there's the need to have the room deeply cleaned because of potential COVID?
Great question. And so thank you, Robin. So I believe Diane or Chris will get back to that question later. But moving on to revised memorandum of understanding with California School Employees Association, chapter 314 and Hillsburg Unified School District.
Yes, so we have an agreement with CSEA. They've actually already ratified and voted on it and approved it on their side. So this is just us bringing it to you. Again, this governs the rest of the school year. So we just need your approval to move forward.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between CSEA and HUSD? Mike, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving on to D, memorandum of understanding with Hillsburg Area Teachers Association and Hillsburg Unified School District. The Board of Trustees will consider approving the memorandum of understanding between HADA and HUSD for returning to in-person instruction.
Yeah, so we reached agreement or tentative agreement on a memorandum of understanding for reopening last Friday with some details added in Monday. And so feel really good about it. And again, wanted to acknowledge the negotiating team from HADA for working so hard on it. I know, I've said this, that it is, the logistics of this are daunting. Mike just talked about details and our minds being very agile. Our minds are very full right now and tired, I'll be honest. But as much as the logistics are daunting, so are the emotions around reopening and the pandemic in general, right? We all know people, friends, family who encounter the pandemic differently than we do, right? Everyone has a different approach, a different emotionality around it. And so I want to acknowledge that we not only as administrators, but the HADA team had to do that with their members. They have to work to make sure that their members are feeling assured and comfortable with what's going on. And so I know on their side, it was a heavy lift as well. And they dug in with us and we worked through it. I didn't tally the hours, but it was a lot. And we feel really good about this MOU that we have before you, and are hopeful that the teachers will vote it into existence at the end of the week. So I do have one just minor change that I wanted to point out to you. I referenced this at the beginning. This would be, Karen, do you know the page number, page 40?
Oops. Oh. It's the second, it is page 40.
Yeah, so it's page 40. This is the high school.
No, it's not page 40. There's only 27 pages. It's like 25. It's
They're
like about.
So it's the high school schedule section. And immediately following it, it was supposed to have this language here included. And I'll read it to you if you can make it bigger, Karen, because I don't have glasses with me. Thank you. So this acknowledges that in the, this is language acknowledging that CTE teachers are going to have an enormously difficult time meeting the needs of all students, right? So they're going to be teaching simultaneously, both in person and distance learning students remotely. How do you do that in construction when kids are in person using a chop saw? You don't, right? The reality is you can't do it simultaneously. And so we added this language here that, and I'm not going to read it, but it basically says that the teachers will find opportunities for students through project-based learning to continue on their CTE studies when they're in the distance learning format. And when they're live, that'll be a little bit more hands-on. So this was something that we agreed to in our negotiation and somehow inadvertently was left off when we created the long PDF.
So Chris, that means that they won't be doing the in-person and video at the same time.
Yeah, I think more likely than not, they'll have a check-in with their distance learning kids and then they'll turn them loose on an assignment. There may be, like culinary, you can maybe manage a little bit of simultaneous, but when it comes to construction and auto,
yeah. Take apart your dad's car. Yeah.
There's just no way from a safety point of view to do it.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, you can't have.
Well, that makes sense.
Right. So we just wanted to build in flexibility and give the teacher some reassurance that we understand the challenge and that we're very supportive of them being creative and continuing to meet their kids' needs. In CTE, in distance learning by itself has been incredibly agile and learned to be, flexible and be able to pivot. So they've done a great job so far this year, and I'm confident they will moving forward. So that's one minor change from what was in the packet. We'll update, but we would like to include that in the MOU that you approve.
So I'll move that we approve the memorandum of understanding with the noted addition of verbiage regarding CTE.
I second.
Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Mike. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to 11.1E. This is a summer school planning extended learning update. This is a report.
Hi, good evening. Erin Fender here again. So yeah, time marches on, right? We have to open our schools and do some regular business all at the same time, taking into account where we are. As it says in the cover sheet in this, we are planning for summer and starting to talk about what extended learning will look like when we get back in the fall. So what you're seeing here in this slide deck is, as of today, things we know change, right? They change every year and they change even more rapidly this year. So this is today, right? This is March 17th. How much of this will evolve over the next couple of months as we gear back into school and we hit June? If there's any major updates, of course, we'd bring it to the board. But we did want to let you know where we're at, what we're planning, and start to move this ball down the field simultaneously while we open up our schools to in-person learning. Next slide. So we'll start with the high school. You'll remember last year we had the very successful program that we had planned to be in person, right? But we were back in that fog where we thought surely by June of 2020 we'll be back in school, right? And we had to shift pretty quickly then, and we did this all virtually and doubled the number of credits that were earned, even though it was our first full online school. So we'll do very similar, and we hope we'll be in person. We're thinking things are going to go well this spring and that we'll be able to continue in person. There's some rules and regulations about how much time students need to be attending coursework in order to earn credits at the high school level. It's about seat time and Carnegie units. So we have to meet that, some minimum instructional time. So the high school will have 2 3-week sessions, we hope taught by our HUSD teachers. And I just want to be transparent that I know the limiting factor for all of this is going to be teaching staff. Teachers are tired and they've been burning it at both ends for a year now. Constructing and reconstructing what they do and putting in time and night and weekends like never before. I understand that we can come up with these plans, principals, district office, and a couple of teachers I've been able to talk with, but I know, and I want to be transparent with the board, that teachers are going to be our limiting factor here. We hope that HUST teachers will be able to fill the need. It is possible that we would have to open up teaching positions to employees that are not currently, teachers that are not currently employed by the district in order to provide all the programs. But we're going to try first to recruit and staff with HUSD teachers. And then if we have to get the programs to go with teachers who are not currently employed by HUSD, we would make that shift. So we'll have 2 3-week sessions, like it says here. Students can earn up to 2 semesters, so a total of 10 credits. So a student may have failed second semester integrated math 2, They could take that in the first 3 weeks. And then let's say they failed first semester English back when they were freshmen, and they could take that in the second session of the 3 weeks. So they can be different subject areas. It kind of runs similar to like the high school semesters, thinking that the first 3 weeks is a semester 1, second 3 weeks is semester 2. Next slide. So just a reminder, this is from the slide deck that was presented to you earlier in the year, showing you the massive change of credits that were earned as we moved away from really relying on online learning and the Plato platform. You know, we all thought online learning was going to be the future and kids would just work and, you know, earn all these credits. And we learned after 3 or 4 years that that's not so true, and that particularly kids that have been unsuccessful in a classroom environment before, if you sit them in front of a computer all summer, they don't necessarily earn credits. So moving back to in-person learning taught by our highly qualified teachers in their subject area is the way to go. And we can see, you know, just the pass rate that we got out of this past summer when it was all online. So remember, this is all virtual in our first big kind of experiment of doing it that way, where there was not hold harmless grading anymore, right? This was real, true grading, not hold harmless grading.
And this is all Plato learning, Erin?
What's that?
This is all through the Plato platform?
Yeah, in 2019, it was mostly reliant on Plato and online. Mm-hmm.
And then 2020, it wasn't Plato?
Correct. It was our teachers teaching. And we had some Plato going on for courses where we only had a couple of a couple of students that needed to pick up a credit, where it just didn't make sense to have a full 3-week session with a teacher. So we did have, you know, Josh Kavanaugh did an extraordinary job of helping our students who we didn't have a full math class or a full English class. History was one of the subjects that we had a lot of kids doing, the seminar classes. So there's a little bit of Plato that happens in some of those other subject areas, graduation requirement areas.
Nice difference though.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and last summer, summer school was unbelievably successful. It was, yeah. It was, yeah.
Next slide.
Make a difference.
Yeah. So our hope is to serve approximately 80 to 100 students. We are currently flying positions for the secondary summer school principal. So right now we're flying to have a principal, and that'll fly through our spring break, and then we'll hold interviews for both the elementary and the secondary principal right when we get back, and then we'll start hiring teachers right after that. So we'll hire the principals first, and then they'll be a part of hiring the teaching staff. So this is right now the plan. The counselors are looking, you know, they're doing that transcript review for us to see where, you know, where we need kids to earn credits and how many. And so putting that puzzle piece, it's like, you know, it's like working a master schedule for the summertime. So that's what's happening right now. This is what it's looking like as of today. Like I said, as we get closer to June, things may change a little bit. We continue to be surprised by these COVID miracles. We generally have at least one bilingual paraprofessional. We've been discussing and just, you know, putting this in light of COVID, and that we may need more support in the room. So possibly having 2 bilingual paraprofessionals supporting, and that would likely be something that we could fund through the additional funding that we're getting from either federal or state to support programs like this. So it would be a good use of our funds. Next slide. Migrant Ed, I'm thrilled. I've been in contact with our regional directors, multiple phone calls and meetings, and Migrant Ed is going to run this summer. This will be an online program, so we'll continue to collaborate with Adelante. They're going to run a 6-week distance learning program. So if our dates don't work perfect for a Migrant Ed student, or they're really on fire and they want to do our program and they want to do Adelante, that would be possible because this is all online. We have a wonderful intervention specialist, Maria Ferreira, who reaches out to our families and literally one by one works with our counselors and our families to get them signed up for the Migrant Ed summer program for our upper grade kids. So I'm working on that right now. And as soon as we get the summer secondary school principal hired, pass that off to make sure that kids can get the best of both worlds. Both the program will run in-house and hopefully also the Migrant Ed regional program that we partner with. Next slide. Mike Hauser's back. It's happening. It's going to look a little different. Yeah, we've been talking to Ananda Sweet at the Santa Rosa Chamber. They are shifting like all of us. And so it's going to be a smaller number. Generally, we try to host about 20 students who are rising out of 8th grade and going to be entering 9th grade in the fall. Because of cohort health and safety regulations, right? Everything that you saw in those COVID plans, we will have in place again during summer learning. We don't anticipate any big changes to the health and safety protocols that we're going to have to meet. So we'll stick with this. The number of 12 to 15 students will be recruited out of current 8th grade. And it's going to be a hybrid program. They'll spend most of their time in the classroom. So, you know, it's unfortunate that they don't get to go to Sonoma Jet Center and to go to the Cousteau Bakery and have their class be at the businesses. You know, we need to understand our businesses are just coming out of, and many still struggling from, the financial realities of this. There may be some opportunity for a few outdoor site visits by businesses. You know, they said, well, maybe let's see where we're at in June. So we're not closing the door to transporting students to the businesses, but right now the majority of the plan is that the business leaders would Zoom in. We've talked about them having an iPad and doing a virtual tour of the facility so they could still get a little bit of a flavor of what that business or industry is like. So we're excited Mike Hauser is back. Next slide. And this is just a slide from this 2 summers ago where, you know, they get to go to the fire station and then the firefighters co-teach with our teacher in the classroom, and really putting, you know, kids don't understand how much math and science firefighters do, working out pressure, working out various oxygen levels in their tanks. They're floored by the amount of math and science that firefighters have to do. So that's a fun picture, and maybe an outdoor visit that they're able to do. We may be able to do that safely. So we're going to shift here. This is HJH. This is our middle school program. So we'll run 2 sessions. Instead of 2 3-week sessions, we'll run a 3-week session that'll be the same as the high school in terms of dates. Remember, we don't get out of school until June 10th. We've got graduation on Friday the 11th. Just like the high school, June 14th is a PD and prep day where we kind of shift over from regular school year, get classrooms, get supplies, get everybody set, do some, you know, basic professional development on summer learning, and then we'll kick off. 3 weeks for the second session, and that's so we can give our instructors and our kids a little bit of summer. So that there'll be 3 weeks in July, so that, you know, basically from 4th of July to July 26th, that our kids will be able to take a little bit of a breath, and our teachers will be able to take a little bit of a breath. That we don't have the same instructional minute requirements like we do for credit earning as high school that we do for junior high, so we can shave that off. So we hope to have at least 1 teacher in class in the areas of English language arts and ELD, math, and we've talked for a long time in this district about doing a bridge program for our 8th graders who were non-promotes, or 8th graders who did not earn promotion status coming out of 8th grade, and getting them geared up to be a successful high school student, and letting them know that, you know, things may not have gone the way we want them to in 8th grade, but that doesn't mean that we're going to give up on them, and that they're going to high school and they get a fresh start, and making sure that they feel comfortable in that environment, that they feel well supported, they know the adults where they can go for help, and that they know that they've got a fresh start at the high school, and to help them get some skills around, you know, social emotional. For a lot of the students, there is possibly some academic issues, but for many of the students, it's really about executive functioning and social emotional issues that may have barred them from promoting from the junior high. So we'll be focusing on that. Obviously working on skills, but also trying to make it fun, trying to, you know, leverage their interest through project-based learning. So it's not just a sit and get and math minute, you know, worksheets, but that we're leveraging some interest there. So that'll be a part of the hiring process to make sure that instructors are on board with kind of a balance between skills and interest and making summer learning fun. Next slide.
So Erin, can I just ask really quick? So the Bridge program is not academic, but it might, some of those kids might be in one of the other academic programs, or no?
There will be some academic component to it, absolutely. Okay. But we found in, reviewing who these kids are and why it is they were non-promotes, certainly there are some academic skill gaps. I don't want to minimize that. But we have faith that the good work can be done to alleviate that issue when they get into the high school building, and that this time it would be the summer bridge would be the 2 weeks, so that they may have the 3 weeks of academic, right?
Gotcha.
And then the 2 weeks of getting you successfully into the high school. Does that make sense?
College orientation.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you feel like you're ahead of everyone else, and you
exactly. You know where the bathroom is.
Exactly. You totally know your way around.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's great.
All right, next slide. Bishop's Ranch is back, we hope. We've had some good conversations with them. They've been able to shift. Again, it won't be nearly as large as we have hosted in the past. You'll notice that I don't have an exact number on here. They're still doing some jiving and moving and seeing what they can pull off. In the past, we've had anywhere from 30 to 50 students up there. They think it's going to be probably more like 20 to 30 students, so probably about half. And the entire program will be spent outdoors. So talking about how to do that, Greta Messick's, an amazing partner on this, has been in the meetings with me already, and trying to figure out how to make this work. And we're pretty sure we're going to be able to make it work. They've reserved that week for us. So our kids are on their calendar for July 26th through the 30th. So we're just kind of working out some details for that and think it'll happen. Talking about, can we get them swimming? The swimming pool is a big deal there. Can we do that? Can we do swimming safely this summer? So there's still some details to work out, but I think it's going to happen. Next slide. So Healdsburg Elementary summer learning. So for our kids who are currently in kinder through 5th grade, so these students are rising into first through 5th. We generally would host one class per grade level for this. So our traditional summer school for elementary would be one class of 1st graders, one class of 2nd graders, and so on. Yeah. We hope to double the number of kids that we can serve in the summer, and that we would have 2 classes of 1st graders, 2 classes of 2nd graders, and that they would get both English language arts and, if needed, English language development and math. So it's a 3-hour learning period, and that they would be able to have some summer learning in both of those subject areas. And that's what we're seeing as we look at this early data that we're getting from our formative assessments, that our kids who are struggling are tending to struggle in both subject areas. And so we want to be able to fill some gaps in both English language arts and in math. So they do one subject for about an hour and a half. And then the teachers would switch, not the students. So the student would be part of a stable cohort. And so the teacher would teach the same thing twice to 2 different groups of kids. So it's not that the teachers are having to prep for 2 different subject areas. They would teach a group of kids the ELA and then do that again. So kind of like a high school schedule almost. Diane and I are talking about being able to provide some special education services for students with disabilities. And, the focus on this program is to accelerate the learning that we know with fewer instructional minutes, right? We've just had less time with our kids on our campuses, and we just can't move as swiftly as we would in a school year when they're with us on campus. We've had to slow things down, and we just have had fewer instructional minutes. So it's kind of no matter who you are. And then if you've had additional burdens of, things going on in your family life, connectivity issues, attendance issues or whatnot. And so we'll be also having some paraprofessionals and the support of a bilingual admin assistant for that program. So all that hiring will be done through the month of April. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Let's go to the next slide. So obviously administrator, teaching staff, but also, transportation to and from all programs. So we know that that's an important part for our families to be able to get them to and from. So having preliminary conversations with Debbie Odetto and Tim about working transportation. We partner with the Redwood Empire Food Bank to provide breakfast and lunch for anybody who's under 18. So that continues. And then obviously facilities and getting that worked out. So that's, yeah.
The previous slide.
Sure.
So sorry if you said this and I missed it.
No, I'm trying to go fast, so no worries.
The 2 sessions, are the same students going to the same, so 3 weeks and the 2 weeks, or are they 2 different groups?
They could be 2 different groups. Yeah, so we're starting to look at our preliminary data, and we want to get the kids on campus to know exactly who and how many. So this is preliminary planning. My guess is that most of the kids would attend for all 5 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, that it would be a rare child. We may have a student who says, we're going on vacation. Can we do the first 3 weeks and not the second? And so we're going to work with the data to see where the need is, and then work with the families to make the invitations and try to get them in for as much as we can. It's
going to be will the 2 weeks in July be a continuation of what was done in the 3 weeks?
Ideally, yes. Yes. Yeah. So it would look like a 5-week continuum of instructional support. Yeah. Yeah. So but we don't want a family to say we can't do the second week, the second 2 weeks, and not participate, right? That's generally what happens, not the reverse. That's
why I was wondering, like, if if a student couldn't come for the first 3 weeks, but they can come in July, would they have missed some of the crucial learning that was covered?
Yes, they would. And so we're going to see, might we have to have a separate cohort of kids that can only come, because we don't want to exclude them if they can only come for that second. But the idea that the format is a 5-week learning continuum.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, you can go on to the next slide, Karen. So I hinted at this a little bit. So we've been, planning internally and with our partners that provide amazing services like Bishop's Ranch, Migrant Ed, and the other summer programs. In April, we hope to hire our teachers and our support staff, our bilingual paraprofessionals, the folks who will help us in the front office. And then once we get our kids, more of our kids on campus and school, we're going to be looking at that data again. It's one thing for a kid to take a STAR assessment or to take some kind of, school-based, curriculum-based assessment when they're home alone with their parents, or home alone or with their parents. We know we're not going to do this with all of our kids because we'll have some that are still distance learning, but we think we're going to get a better feel for where our data is at through the month, early part of, April and into May, and the invites to families will then go out in early May and we'll launch in June. Almost done here.
Quick question.
Yes.
Rising 6th graders, would they be included in the junior high?
Yes.
Activities?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Like, are we missing an important little group there?
Yeah, so that it's the rising year that they get captured in. Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure. Thanks.
Yeah. And we talked about doing this past year. Our TK Kinder Bridge program weren't able to pull it off because of all the COVID uncertainty, but we do hope to provide anywhere from a 1 to 3 day program just before school begins, getting some academic assessment. This is hopefully when we would knock out LPAC for incoming TK and Ks, so we don't have to eat up instructional time, and some other kinder screeners. Play-based evaluation is an important part of this for me and for our teacher and Principal Franey. we can capture the parents and talk about, you know, how do you drop off your kindergartner and first grader, so we can avoid some of the drama that often goes on in that first day or two of bringing your 5-year-old to school. And then doing some social emotional learning. And we know that this is going to be a need for all of our students, but particularly for our kinders. Next slide. Just in early plans, you know, we'll have a presentation for you on this, you know, in coming meetings, probably in a little bit in April, and a more full plan in May for the extended learning, talking about how to extend the school day, particularly in elementary. How do we increase tutoring services, particularly for junior high and high school? And I'm working on some community partnerships for that. And we're planning on increasing our FTE allotment for reading intervention to FMC. So this is in the early stages as we learn more about funding availability and kind of what the context of what school will look like for the fall, but know that we're at the drawing board for this, and we'll be able to have a good plan for you likely in May. And then last slide. So with that, we had talked, one thing that is pretty drawn out is working with the Regional Migrant Ed program. And we do have already secured some funds through Migrant Ed. And we had talked about doing it this year, a morning boost or an extended school day, connecting to some of the curricula that we already use, Lexia and ST Math. Most of you and most parents know it as an online adaptive software program, but both of these curriculum providers have tabletop exercises that we don't currently have a place or a space to make good use of. So this has been on the drawing board for about a year or so, and we hope to be able to make good on this once we can get our kids on campus. So that's what I got for summer and extended learning.
So Erin, a quick question back to high school. So if we had a random student who had, you know, an issue with a random class that isn't a focus, would it just be like a Plato credit recovery kind of thing?
Possibly. We try to focus on the graduation requirements, right? Just in terms of our fiscal commitment and staffing commitment. And I think especially, you know, I mentioned earlier, my limiting factor is going to be adults who are willing to stay on this grindstone with us.
Right. I mean, I can imagine people need a break.
Yeah. So, you know, it depends on what the class is and why, you know, for some we're able to get, you know, let's say their schedule's super full and they're trying to take all these AP classes, and if they take a semester of Spanish during the summer, then we can get them into everything for their senior year. So we look at kids, you know, they got a D second semester freshman English and they're a junior now, and they're like, I really want to apply to a 4-year school and I got to get that D corrected. So we do those machinations to try to make sure that we get all of our kids with their graduation requirements, and then those other cases if we have the funding and the teaching staff to support it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Erin, so in the younger grades, how will the decision be made that it's appropriate for a student to be invited to summer school?
So the data will drive it, and then conversations with the teachers. And really, you know, the essential question is this: will the learning loss of this student be able to be rectified during a normal school year? And you know, we know that the repair that we need to do for all kids is probably a 3-year process here, right? Ramping back up and getting we've pared things down to the essential standards, right? So where first grade would normally end is a little different. You know, to be transparent, like, would every kid across the nation benefit from a summer learning program? Yes, right? We're going to have to make that cut here at some point. Doubling the number of kids, and you know, when I talk about being able to offer a service for 30 of each grade level, we're talking about a third of the kids in each grade level. So we're hopeful that that'll do it. you know, I'll be honest, again, teachers are going to be my limiting factor. And then that's when we're going to have to look at what can we do during the school year in terms of extended day and scaffolding and circling the wagons for kids during the school year.
Next year, you mean?
Yeah, during,
right.
Yeah.
I just want to, I want to thank you because so I'm a super proponent of prevention and early intervention. And I agree that it's going to be such a challenge to get teachers to sign on. But I love that you were creative in thinking about, you know, having teachers just teach one content area, like one teacher teach the reading and one teacher teach the math. So it's not as heavy of a lift. So I don't know if there's a possibility to do that. I know it's harder at the secondary level just because of the content areas, but I don't know, I'm just thinking of if there's a way to lighten the load to try to recruit more teachers to be able to do that. I think it would be really awesome because I mean, looking at what you've put together for every single grade level is super exciting to me. It's very well thought out. I love that that we're going to be providing this bridge program for our junior high students. So all of it's like super exciting, but I know that it's going to be a challenge to staff. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I think that, and I love the idea of having the teachers like kind of, maybe you can team together and just take on one chunk of that. Whatever we can do to lighten the load a little bit, to make it a little bit more enticing. So kudos to you for thinking about that.
Yeah. And, we'll see with this funding that's coming through to us, there's some interesting things there that we're trying to pay attention to, and what curricula do we use? Do we need to switch things up? And lots to do in the next 6 weeks to figure this out.
Well, nice. Thank you for this amazing report. Anybody else have questions or comments?
No, just outstanding. Great, good work.
I have one public comment.
Okay.
From Robin Doherty.
Okay, Robin.
Hi. So Erin, I just wanted to add on to what you were talking about. The essential standards does not mean less. What the essential standards meant was that we were going to deal with the key components that had to be taught for the grade level, and that the fluff and the extra review, like doing 5th grade review in a 6th grade classroom, that stuff was eliminated and just placed in the essential work that needed to be done. So essential standard means kids were getting what they need to get in the grade, not less.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you, Robin. Okay, any other comments, questions?
Can I just add one thing? I'm just interested, I'll be interested in knowing once kind of in-person school resumes, what the, just what kind of requests and interests, beyond what sort of like the teachers are recommending in summer school. Because I just think for so many families, a big part of the burden of this time has been that their kids are home all the time, and that they are, of course, getting essential instruction, or they're getting the instruction that they're getting, but they're missing out on socializing and just being in a school environment and playing with their friends and playing outside, and just all these things that we know are such an important part of school. And that people may just be really eager to see that extend into summer because it's like we haven't been there. And so I'll be curious to understand more about what people are asking for and what the desire is for this this program in the summer.
Thank you, Rose. Okay, so there's no other comments or questions. We're going to move on to reports. Do we have a HEF report?
We do. I think we have Dennis Agnos, who is a board member.
Great.
Good evening, everybody. Although my camera was off, I've been listening to the entire meeting. Forgive me, but I was enjoying some corned beef with my family. So it was a very, very pleasant dinner conversation with you all. I'm gonna wear my parent hat for a moment, if you'll indulge me, just because this has been such an extraordinary year. And as I like to talk about the COVID pandemic, the variables are there for all of us. and they hit each one of us differently and at different times. And I am completely grateful to HUSD for all of the support that you've given my kids and all of the kids of the district. So as you have all been shedding your congratulations on to the team, I'd like to offer that from me and my family. And also now putting my HEF hat back on, offering those acknowledgements on behalf of the full board of the Education Foundation. I am in awe of the partnerships that the district has built this year and what you have done to support all of the families. And I am really, really delighted to see everything that is coming down the pike. And I just want you to know that HEF, although there have been many changes for our organization, like I mentioned, it's been an extraordinary year. We have been socked with some extraordinary circumstances ourselves, with our ED moving on, and then our other staff person. We have decided, as you know, to just take a moment of pause on our own, take about 6 months, see what happens with the pandemic, and begin a hiring process thereafter. We have our roots in being a grassroots organization founded by parents many, many years ago. We have parents on our board, committed community members, and we're ready to take action. You're going to see me tonight. Every month going forward, you're going to see another member of our board who's going to give the report, but also gives them an opportunity to hear all of the good work that is happening on behalf of the public school students in the district. So I just want you to know that we are keeping our eye and ear on and open to all that you are doing. We have been working with Aaron and Chris already to find what interesting ways we might be able to partner together to support all of this work. And we're formulating some of those plans now. So as time marches on, we should be able to have more to report on fundraising activities that can get into motion, but we're right there with you. And what we can do right now is help to be your champion and your advocate throughout the community in our messaging about the reopening. So whatever we can do to help you, just let us know. And we are grateful to all of you for all that you do. Thanks for the support of our kids.
Thank you, Dennis. Okay, do we have a HADA report? Yes. Hi, Robin.
Hi. So, hang on one second. Let me get it up. Oh my goodness, my screen just crashed. My screen just crashed. Can I come back?
Yeah, we can come back to you.
Pull it up.
That's fine. Do you want to go, Connie? Are you doing the CSEA report?
Susie is here.
I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, Susie, sorry, Susie.
No problem. Hi, everybody. I don't really have any kind of report, but I did want to show up. Anyway, we're kind of in the same place as we were last month, except we're counting down the days to starting. We're anxious. We know that spring break will fly because, you know, it always does. And then when we come back, I think that week's going to go even faster. So, but I think, you know, I think we got everything ready. We're ready to see the kids and sort of get back to normal.
Great. Thank you, Susie.
Okay, thanks.
Vikram, do you want to do your report?
Sure. I actually have something to report on, so I'm excited.
Here.
So, as I'm sure most of you know, currently the junior internships are going on. And surprisingly, 60% of them are in person and 40% aren't, but the ones that aren't are mostly like healthcare or like in the medical area. And they give like presentations and speakings about what they do and different tips and stuff. And when I talked to Miss Anderson last, they were going very, very well. So that's some good news. Another thing that happened is my senior class president, Fiona Fronti, had a town hall meeting that was open to all seniors. And she just wanted to get some feedback and tips about different aspects of coming back. So as you all might expect, kids are very excited to come back and do their different electives and stuff. Seniors want a graduation, like even if it's 2 days or whatever restrictions, we really want, like, we're going to try to push as much as we can for the graduation. And then relating to that, if where it's going to be, because I don't know if Rec Park is still going to be the location or if the city's going to complain about that. And then finally, as Chris mentioned earlier, sports are back on. They are going very well. The tennis team is doing very well, and go Hounds.
Awesome. Thank you, Vikram.
Hey,
Okay.
Vikram, I just want to say, we will do as much as we are legally able to do for graduation. So it's not going to be the city, it'll be the county that puts the constraints around it, but we will be pushing on them so that we can celebrate you guys. You absolutely deserve it.
Yes, yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes. Okay, Robin.
Okay, I'm ready. All right. So the teachers are looking forward to continuing the negotiations on our successor contract. Now, the teachers are looking forward to going back and meeting their students. The teachers are also looking forward to having the time to get a handle on and time to focus on providing the best in-person and distance learning instruction for our kids. We are thankful that there will not be new directives or new programs or curriculum changes during this time with the last 10 weeks of school. The teachers do still have a lot of questions regarding doing distance learning and in-person at the same time with the technologies that we have, because we will have kids on Zoom and at home at the same time. So we're looking forward to learning how distance learning and in-person works with technology in our professional development hours before the kids arrive on campus. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Robin. Okay, Board of Trustees, does anyone have a report? No? Okay, do we want to take a 5-minute break? Okay, 5 minutes. It is 7:50. We'll come back at 7:55. Thank you, everyone. Where is everyone?
I'm here.
Okay. All right, we are reconvening to 11.2, student learning, equity and school culture, local control and accountability plan update. This is a report.
All right, so I will try to go through this fairly quickly as well. There's a PowerPoint slide deck. There it is. Awesome. Our good friend, the LCAP. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So the LCAP, like this slide says, a lot of these are stolen from presentations I go to by the California Department of Ed. This is one of them. So the LCAP really serves three purposes. It's our strategic plan for the district. It provides a way for us to engage in stakeholder engagement, to engage with our stakeholders, and the accountability and compliance piece. So the reporting that we do both fiscally and in terms of the data. So those three parts, the strategic planning, engaging with stakeholders, and accountability and compliance. It is a 3-year document. We, as it said in the cover sheet, we did not do an LCAP last year. Last year was supposed to be kind of year 1 of a new 3-year cycle. That was waived during the pandemic, and instead we got hit with about 17 other plans. None nearly as comprehensive nor tied to the budget as closely as the LCAP is. So the learning continuity plan and then all the COVID plans and whatnot. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So again, a slide stolen from a CDE presentation. They talk a lot about the through line. So the through line that we're engaged in right now, gathering and figuring out the data to be used to review progress. Many of the data indicators that we would historically use either just didn't happen, like CASP, or a little funky, right? Attendance. So attendance from last year. And even grades with hold harmless grading last year. So really trying to get a handle on what data is valuable and starting to share and do deeper dives on that. Input from the stakeholders to me is one of the most important things and one of the parts that I love about this actually. So in the packet, you guys have the schedule that we have where we, either Chris or I go and talk to all of our teachers at least one staff meeting, all of our parents and teachers at their governance councils, or what other people would know as site councils, the ELAC and DLAC meetings, and really wherever else we're invited. But we want to make sure that our parents and our teachers in particular have a voice in this and understand the strategic plan and have input to it. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So back to this data, the absence of the state and local indicators, there was no data dashboard for last year to guide this. So we'll be looking, obviously at the year prior. A big announcement just came from the State Board of Education yesterday. They did vote to include in the waiver that the state of California, that districts could choose the
Okay. Sorry.
I'm like, great, I'm done. Thanks. Debbie?
Hold on a second.
That's all right. While you get that organized, I'll give the big news. Educators will be happy to hear this, and I think board members too. The state board did make the good, right, and difficult decision, in my opinion, backed by the majority, that as part of their waiver to not make districts take the CASP. They are going to allow us, yes, they are going to allow us to use our internal standardized assessments. So we filled out some forms and they realized, wow, districts have their own standardized assessments that they use for interim purposes. We will most likely, this announcement came out yesterday, but we're anticipating it. So using the STAR assessment will be our go-to. So the feds still have to, pardon me?
Can I ask a clarifying question though, just because I wasn't sure?
Sure.
So But we still have to wait for the feds to.
Correct. So that's where I was just about to go. So we have to wait for the feds. So this isn't, you know, for sure. We're not saying, nope, don't have to do it for sure, but the state waiver will include this provision. And, you know, the next step is for the feds to approve our waiver. The state level waiver, not our district waiver, but the state level waiver. So in my opinion, it's headed in the right direction for kids, and being focused on in-person learning and getting back into the classrooms.
And the board won't have to make that decision.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Something I would not want to do either. All right, let's go to the next slide. So what's new? There's some good news. So next slide. They heard all of us, and that a 200-page document where every expenditure was line item down to the object code was not really in the spirit of what an LCAP was supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be a public document. It's supposed to be a document that a non-educator, that a stakeholder, that a parent, a community member could read and understand. And we'd gotten away from that. It's not perfect. There's still lots of educationese, and it's still going to be a lengthy document, but there are some improvements. So we're really working on simplifying the actions. So you remember in goal 1, we had 21 actions listed. And in those 21 actions, there were line item of almost every single budget dollar that we used. And that's what the budget's for. That's not necessarily what the LCAP is for. So I like this new format. I think it's going to make it cleaner and easier to read, but it will not have the level of detail that some people are used to seeing. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So what I'm doing here is I'm showing you on the right part of the slide what it's going to look like in the LCAP template. So those are screenshots from the LCAP template that you'll get in May. So you'll get the full template. We're working on it. And then over here on the left, I'm trying to talk through what the differences are. So this summarized actions and services, which, like I said, for most people will make it a more readable document, a more understandable document. Some people who've gotten used to this may be like, well, wait, where's all the detail? So you're going to have to live with that. Let's go to the next slide. So the annual update will update the 2019-20 school year. So not this current school year, right? It will be a reflection on the 19-20 school year. And then because we didn't do an LCAP for this current school year, that learning continuity plan that we did really rushed in about 6 weeks and did our best. So the annual update will be focused on 1 year ago, and then the learning continuity plan that we passed in August. Like it says, starting with this next year, there'll be, the metrics will be more embedded into the document. And I know for those of you who are new board members, this might be a little confusing, and I'm happy to have you know, kind of a little LCAP workshop and how to read this document, because it can get pretty confusing. So the actual metrics will be, so you'll see on that screenshot the baseline, and then year 1, year 2, year 3 outcome. So you'll see some blank boxes in there. So the year 1 outcome will be the data that we have to give you to this year. And then year 2 will be next year. Year 3 will be the following year. So you might say, wait, these are blank boxes. So I just wanted to kind of preempt that. And then the goal analysis, this is an important piece. I'll say this is the narrative piece. I spend quite a bit of time writing and thinking deeply and working with the district leadership team to do the analysis of the goals. You know, how did we do? Did we make our mark? What does the data say? Did we get close? If we didn't, why? So when you see the draft in May and I'm asking for your input, you know, we'll spend some time talking about the goal analysis. So let's go to the next slide. So what are you going to approve and when? So the board will approve that annual update that is the learning continuity plan for this year, pretty short, simple document, and then the LCAP from the previous year. So that's where we're reflecting on how did we do in the past. The budget overview, and you saw the budget overview from this year a couple months ago from Debbie. I think it was in December. So the budget overview, where we're trying to say, here's what's in the LCAP and here's what's not in the LCAP and why. So the budget overview provides to parents, you know, we don't have every single dollar in the LCAP. Like we don't often have some of our maintenance. We don't put our HVAC bills in the LCAP. So some of the things that are not necessarily about strategic planning are not in the LCAP. And then one of the more important parts about that is holding us accountable for our concentration and supplemental dollars. So these are money that is earmarked to the categorical funds for our students who are English language learners and our students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, foster, and homeless youth. So you'll see where those dollars, it's a little over $1 million for Healdsburg, those categorical funds that can only be used to serve those students. So we increase and we improve services. We have to spend a little over $1 million in Healdsburg to increase and improve services. So that's highlighted there. And then the actual LCAP. So there's some general information. We describe the district, the highlights, what do we feel good about? How did we do stakeholder engagement? The goals and actions, including the metrics, this increased or improved services I mentioned. So that's primarily in Healdsburg, focused on our English language learners and our low income students. The expenditures, which maps right to the budget that you'll also approve in June. We'll be back doing the local indicator reports. We did not do a local indicator report last year because of COVID, but we will have you approve one this year. And you'll approve that in May, because then it'll be in the LCAP as part of the metrics that you approve in June. And then all of this then gets translated by the principals, and they work with their governance councils to revise their site plans. So the site plans will track to the LCAP. So the LCAP's the overarching document, you know, big, bold goals that can fit our K-2 school as well as they fit our high school. So big, granular sized, you know, grandiose goals, actions and services that are also fairly large grain size. And then you start to see it materialize. You start to see that grain size get smaller in the site plans, the site plans for student achievement. So next slide. This used to take up 4 pages, right? Goal 1, rigor, goal relevance. Goal 3 used to be community. We've changed it based on stakeholder input to be relationships. So rigor, relevance used to be community. Seems like our stakeholders prefer the word relationships. And instead of a laundry list of 20 actions and services for each of these, we're really trying to create larger buckets and to have I'm trying to think of the right word. It's more all encompassing. So we're not line iteming every single thing in a strategic plan. We know as a district that all of this has to drive to our equity initiatives, and all of this gets put through the lens of where we're at to foster equity for our families and our students in our district. So constantly doing that check on where are we at through the equity lens. And with that, in your board packet, I included, and I didn't make a slide, but you'll remember, can I get this? Oh, how does that work with my camera? There we go, I gotta lean back. This is in the packet. This is the Sonoma County Portrait of a Graduate. So those of you who have the packet in front of you, if you're in the public, this is in the packet. This is a Sonoma County Portrait of a Graduate. So again, framing our strategic plan through this. You'll remember this, you know, in the fall of last year, we were having community town halls about this and talking about how does this inform who we are as a district. And I just wanted to make sure that we don't lose sight of this. So that's part of the thinking and the work. And then the leadership domains. So you remember this document that we worked on in partnership with the Center for Educational Leadership at the University of Washington to be clear about who we want to be as leaders and how we're going to hold ourselves accountable to each other as leaders. So these leadership domains and the competencies, the behaviors and look fors that we look for from, Superintendent Vanden Heuvel to our principals and everything in between in terms of leadership. So this is what we've got going out in visiting with our parents and our staff members over the next 6 weeks or so, as they'll let me, when we can think about something besides reopening our schools. And we'll bring more documents and the draft of the LCAP to you in May for your input as board members, so then we can get approval in June. So that's the plan and update on LCAP. Any questions?
No, very thorough. Thank you. Any questions?
Can I just make a comment? I just wanted to, again, how do I applaud somebody too many times? But for going through this, and for some reason I'm looking at it, well, it's easier this year because it's kind of blank. And I'm not sure that's the right word to say. But I think the work is beginning. And as you pointed out, Aaron, that, our focus on equity and anti-institutionalized racism is a focus of ours, which a lot of this is based upon, et cetera. So I congratulate you for bringing that up, for pointing that out. And I look forward to working with the rest of the school board and ultimately with the staff in working toward that end and all these other little components. And I have to say this, Aaron, you, I think, were the one that introduced several boards ago the word lift. It's a heavy lift. And so I'm going to change it to mental gymnastics. And you can choose Simone Biles, Allie Raisman, or Gabby Douglas. Who should we call you? Which would you like to be?
I love it. Well, I gotta go Biles. Yeah.
She's the chair.
So actually, year one of an LCAP is actually the most work because it's laying the foundation. So it's only blank because we're not going to have the data to support, like, did it work or not? But year one is
coming up. We're starting.
So thank you for organizing it and getting all of those things in there. I really appreciate that. It's it's thorough, it's exciting. There's a lot of things that are in place and a lot of guiding documents. As I look at the equity lens of all of this, it makes me just really proud of our district. And so I just want to thank you for that. And I know that this year, this LCAP year, I mean, it's a little frustrating that you even have to do an LCAP this year when, we're still trying to reopen schools, but and it's a lot of work to establish year one for the 3-year plan. So
yeah, and to you as board members, right? You guys, I mean, it's work for the district, but there's parallel lanes of work going on here, right? To talk about our mission, our vision, keep equity at the center of our work. There's a lot of mental gymnastics for all of us. And I think just doing what we can do and taking those sprints down the lane when we can get them, right? When I'm a soccer player and I'm always like looking for those holes. So, and then things are going to get done, right? And sometimes it gets done fast and sometimes it gets slow. So I know you guys have multiple lanes of work that you're doing as well, and the Acosta Education Partnership trainings that you're doing and some of the goal setting that you've been doing with Superintendent Vanden Heuvel to make sure that he and then we are held accountable to the high standards that our community expects. So, making sure all of those parallel lanes of work, from goal setting with the superintendent to, becoming a more equity-minded institution that we want to be, and then approving all these plans that we're throwing at you. So it takes a village. We'll get there. Hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you, Simone.
Anybody else? Anybody else have any comments or questions for Aaron? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay, so moving on to 11.3, school business, Hillsborough Unified School District calendar for 2021-2022, and other discussion item.
Yeah, Karen, do you mind, can you project the calendar?
Sure, it'll just take me a couple minutes.
Okay. This is just a draft calendar that we are bringing forward for a first look at. It is pretty much based on this year's calendar. It's very, very similar. Every year, sort of our process is to wait for Santa Rosa City Schools, and I think most districts in the county do the same thing, for them to have a draft and then riff off of that as they, you know, inevitably we have employees whose children go there. The JC usually is very similar, et cetera, et cetera. So we again did that this year. First day of school would be August 18th, very similar to this year, starting on a Wednesday. And then you can see up in the corner there, highlighted in yellow, we do have 2 emergency makeup days. We actually have 3. If you remember that at Healdsburg, we go a day past the minimum required by the state. We're one of the, probably the only district in Sonoma County that actually has 181 instructional days. So we already have a makeup day embedded. And then we have January 3rd, which would be the professional development day for teachers, should we need to use it for students because we have a fire or a flood, we can. And then April 18th, which right now would be a floating holiday unless it's needed. And let's just hope that we don't need those days next year.
Yes.
That would be a nice change. Anyway, otherwise it's pretty standard calendar, a week at Thanksgiving, 2 weeks around the winter holiday, and then the week at spring break, and we end as we normally do, the Thursday in the first week of June, or the first full week of June. So any questions or comments? So we still need to discuss this a little bit with our teachers union. They have a seat at the table in establishing the calendar, and then we would bring it hopefully next month to you on consent, if that's okay with the board.
Great. Okay. Any comments, questions?
No comments.
All right, thank you.
Now that PowerPoint, oh wait, are we to second interim? Yeah.
You're to second interim.
That one that keeps sneaking up. Here we go.
I don't know how that happened.
Okay, Debbie, going to be presenting to us the 2020-21 second interim report and supporting documents.
Good evening.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi. You could go to the next slide, Karen.
Sorry.
So here's the budget cycle that I show in all my reports, and I'm just showing you where we are in the budget. We're down here at the second interim, a little over halfway through. I'm getting ready to start planning for the 21-22 budget. Okay. So the second interim is just a snapshot in time with the fiscal year and projecting the next 2 years. I've adjusted all the revenues and expenditures, and we begin projecting the ending balances for funds and reserves. And the second interim covers through January 31st. So even though we're here at March 15th, it's only covering through January 31st. So what's new? So these are the things that have changed since the first interim. We've received our first installment of RDA. We've received projections for from SELPA and got our preliminary costs from NCC. We've received notice of more COVID-19 resources coming. And the governor's January proposal that shows the increase in COLA, which is all good news, but doesn't really impact HUSD very much because we're basic aid. So RDA distributions. We received our first installment, which is down here in the January. When we began, we budgeted at 85% of last year's, which SCO recommends only 50%. And we've been budgeting 85% last year and then the beginning of this year. In January, our first installment came in at 1.7 million, which was about 87% of the 1920 installment. At the second interim, well, let me back up. So Chris and I looked into it to see why did we have a decrease, and it was about a 10% decrease for us. And there's been a lawsuit in Southern California, which is fairly new, and it has changed how the residual tax increment from the former redevelopment agencies is distributed. We don't really have a set answer on what that looks like going forward, but we are planning on receiving a 10% cut for the next installment as well.
So Debbie, who brought this lawsuit, and are they accusing the state of hiding or giving too much or giving too little, or?
Basically, you want me to, I can jump in. I read the whole lawsuit 3 times trying to understand it. What happened was it was taken on in a county by county approach. And so some agencies in certain counties who would have benefited from a different approach, and basically what was at the discussion point was what factors are applied to the taxes. So we have a factor, a percentage that we get out of these funds, right? And so they thought that the interpretation of the law was done incorrectly in their county, and it was not done uniformly in California, and sued and won. And so it changes the factors used in applying these kinds of tax dollars to all the various tax agencies who take them.
Chris, that said, the factor going up or down?
Down, right? Yeah. So for us, it went down. For other agencies, and I don't remember which agency it was that sued, it went up. They were trying to regain tax dollars, right? Right. Exactly. The thing that still lingers is we've reached out to Schooll, and they did some legwork, but still haven't been able to answer what has our factor changed to, and explain to us why that's the correct factor. So our next step is to reach out to the county tax assessor's office, and go from there. It's big money, right? Yes. So it might be worth spending a little bit to explore this further, just to make sure it's being applied correctly.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying we're still exploring it, because right now we're looking at a significant, just looking at January, right? You're quite a bit under where we thought we would be if we followed the normal progression that it seemed like was happening over the last 4 years. So.
Wow. So is what could come out of this a statewide approach? Or is it's more of a lawsuit precedence that everyone has to now follow the lawsuit settlement approach?
Correct. It's from the lawsuit, but it's supposed to be applied uniformly statewide. But then every RDA is different, right? So how many agencies benefit from it? There's a lot of moving parts. So okay. Yeah.
Shoot. Okay.
Yes. It's not good news right now, for sure.
Bummer.
The good part, the good part is it would be a one-time adjustment down, and then, it's not as if it's going to continue to adjust down.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like you'd have your factor set. So.
Well, and maybe will it force our local tax agency to be more transparent, because it's a mystery right now.
Yeah, well, we might have to force them somehow, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't know that it's a lack of transparency as much as it's an incredibly difficult and arduous process that nobody but maybe 3 people at the taxing agency understand. So we just.
Well, but that's not transparent.
It's not, but it is, as we know and have talked about endlessly, is.
I know. Okay.
Mysteries out there. So we're going to continue to push and pry and see what we can find out. But for now, we have to forecast less money coming in for redevelopment.
So we've decreased our second installment to 80%, and this has also affected our next 2 years out, because I've adjusted across the board all 3 years. Okay. So this slide is showing you where we started and where we're at. So we have the initial budget, then the first interim, second interim, and the last column is the difference between the second and the first. So if you look at the changes, revenue has gone up, and remember, this is unrestricted, so this doesn't count all the federal dollars coming in for COVID. So total revenues has gone up. That is mostly because of local revenues and a reimbursement we received from RESIG for workers' comp from 1920. Salaries and benefits has gone down along with other expenditures, and that is due to the COVID-19 funds. We've moved a lot of our expenses over to those resources. Contributions has gotten better. I did have $200,000 allocated for contribution to food service, and I've deducted 100,000 out because we've received extra money for food service due to COVID. Looking down, it shows you the total percentage of what I see as reserve right now. Okay. So this is looking at the 3 years together. There's not a lot to see here. You can see in the local revenue, I've still gone a little low because I don't want to budget any revenues that I don't know are coming for sure, like we've done in the past. So I'm waiting on local revenues until they come, and then I will budget them. So you can see that's a little bit lower there. And then moving down, another one that jumps out is the 3rd year out in your employee benefits. That figure's gone down, and that's because the PARS retirement incentive from 16-17 will be paid off then. We'll pay it off next year.
Oh, good.
Save a couple $100,000 there. So this is showing the net for the year as you look across. And I'm projecting a 15.62 reserve this year, 12.17 next year, and 10.62 the 3rd year out, which is clearly a positive certification for second interim. I do think this will get better as I get closer to closing the books. I'll be moving more of the expenses out of the general fund to the COVID resources as I receive more.
Debbie, can you remind me what the target reserve is for basic aid school or district?
Well, ours is 13.3.
Yeah, we have our own board policy at 13.33.
13.3, thank you.
Yeah.
Which I would like to see a little higher, honestly. Most basic aid districts are at 17%.
Right. The while our fund reserve looks relatively healthy, it is worth noting that we're still projecting deficit spending for this year and next year, right?
Yeah, see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. On the other side, I wanted to show you that the deficit spending did change quite a bit between first interim and second interim though.
Yeah, it's
and we knew we would be deficit spending this year. A lot of that's due to the raises.
And that deficit spending is based on our projected budget.
Correct.
Correct.
Correct. So this is a summary of where means, oops,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
This is a summary of the COVID-19 resources we've received so far. So the top line was the first one we received, and we spent all of that at the end of last year. The ESSER funds, we still have a balance of 183,000. The learning loss mitigation, the CRF funds, we've spent the 813. That was a crunch because we had to spend that by December 31st. And then after December 31st, they extended it to May 31st of 21. But we had already done all of our adjusting at that time. The gear funds, we still have $83,000. Prop 98, 110. So the COVID-19 resources that we currently have, we have 376,000 remaining.
Do we anticipate more coming in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll share that on the next slide. But I did want to say a little bit of where the funds have gone. If you go back a slide, Karen. So if you look at the SB 117, that 23,000 is all PPE and hotspots. If you look at the ESSER funds, that's all PPE and summer school from 1920. The learning loss mitigation, that's all technology, PPE, and salaries. And the Prop 98, so far we've only spent 3,000, and that's all gone to nurses.
And Debbie, I'm assuming you have the balances earmarked. Like you already know what you're going to be spending that 300.
You know, honestly, we don't all the way because there's so much more money coming in that we're going to have to make a new plan.
Okay.
There's a lot of dollars coming in.
This is it's an interesting thing because we have dollars coming in, but it's one-time dollars, right?
Correct. Correct. It's all one time.
So even if you start shifting things around, it can really start tweaking the budget in a way, you know what I mean? That
yeah, it's really intended to be to address the learning loss that has happened, right? So things like summer school or the extended learning day, getting a program like that started that you may have for the next few years, but maybe not have it to the same level after that, because it's trying to make up that gap. And then to do things like what we've done, buying air filters for every classroom.
Sure, like physical things.
Measures. Yeah, that's the intent of most of the money that's coming in. So.
Yeah. And there's the unknown that we don't know what's coming. We don't know exactly how everything's going to roll out in the next few weeks when students come back. And
yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, some money put aside, like if we need like more counseling services for SEL, you know.
Yeah, no, and I should. That's already on paper how we plan to spend some of this new money coming.
That's where most of this money is earmarked for now.
That's good. That's good.
And I mean, I look at this too, and I think, God, if we could do more summer school, maybe we could increase from 30 students to 60 students. But I know that or at least my impression from the presentation is that the bottleneck isn't the funding, it's staffing.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because we were earmarking some of this money for summer school, but with the new funds coming in, there'll be more dollars for summer school.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I get the idea of kind of wait and we got to do some wait and see for sure. I mean, we really don't know what the next 6 months are going to look like, right? But but on the other hand, what can we do sooner? What, you know, can we, you know, is there a more value in doing things sooner? And but then what's even possible?
But you've got all the PPE and everything set up, so now it's.
Now I'm talking about learning loss. Like what kind of actions can we take with students sooner? I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking, but
yeah, and that you have to take that in context with all the guidelines we have to follow in terms of in-person.
Right.
I'm with you.
A lot of guidelines and a lot of reporting involved with all of this.
And the fact that we don't even know what we're getting yet. So.
Right.
I'm with you in spirit though, Donna. I'm really curious about sort of like what we can do to help students get over the hump, like, you know, or.
Yeah.
What I hear is there's a plan for that. We just have to make sure we have the resources to implement it. Am I correct, Superintendent?
Yeah. I think, I mean, what they're saying is, could there be more we could do sooner, which maybe we need to know what we're getting. And then the requirements are for a plan to be approved, not only to be approved by the school board, but to have a process of stakeholder engagement. It's kind of like a little minimum cap. So it's not something you can just hit the ground and spend with the dollars coming in.
For sure.
Yeah, that sounds very reasonable. I'm just interested, you know, it being a proactive sort of process.
Yeah.
Debbie, is there a timeline for potential monies coming in?
Yeah, I'm going to cover that now.
Okay.
So this slide here is new COVID resources coming in.
Oh, there you go.
So here's your first pot. It's your elementary and secondary school emergency relief, which is ESSER. So we've received ESSER 1 and now this is ESSER 2 funding. So we have all the way till September of 23 to spend these dollars. Pretty much you could use it for the same things. It's mostly for learning loss, but this one adds school facility repairs, inspections. That's new. I'm sorry. Yeah. It needs to be tracked separately from the other dollars. And we do know at this time that the amount that is quoted to come to us is $756,000, which is a good amount.
And we'll have 2 years, like she said, to spend it.
Yeah.
Then there's the Safe Reopening of Schools Act. First, there's the in-person instruction grant. And this was trying to get schools to reopen. It doesn't force schools, but it was providing an incentive. Instruction by April 1 for full funding and partial all the way up till May 15th. You must provide continuous instruction unless the local or state health order closes. Allows for hybrid setting. Red, orange, or yellow must offer in-person instruction to prioritize student cohorts, K through 6, and 1 full grade above grade 6, which we're going to be doing grade 6 and 9. So we'll be in there.
Nice job.
We'll have our schools open, and we should receive later this week what our funding amount will be for this one.
Excellent. So that original, wasn't it February 1st? What was the date?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. That's all I need to say.
I think they passed it like March 7th, right? When they finally passed the bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then part of the act is expanded learning opportunity grant. This one's a little different. 85% of the funds have to be spent on in-person instruction. 15% can be on distance learning, and 10% must be spent to hire paraprofessionals.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the lobbies at work in the state legislature.
So do we have short-term plans like before the end of this year to hire paraprofessionals?
We don't know how much we're getting in these dollars.
We haven't been granted an exact amount yet.
Yeah, I just, Okay.
So this is also for learning time, address students' needs, extended learning time, credit deficient pupils, and for social emotional learning.
And these dollars, I don't know if Debbie, you have this on another slide. These have to be spent by the end of next school year.
So Debbie, help me understand the numbers. I got an 85, a 15, and a 10 on the expanded learning opportunity grant. So in person.
It's overlap.
Well, the distance learning says that it can be spent on.
But paras can support either in person
Maybe.
or
Gotcha.
distance. Yeah.
And paras would be in learning potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing, like, there's no statewide definition of paraprofessional, right? Like every district. We used to have paraprofessionals, and then we had teachers' aides, and then we decided to encompass them both under that name. And so there's a lot of definition that still needs to be given from the state to the districts on what this exactly means.
What a nice problem to have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
again, we won't know until the 20th how much we're getting for these two pots.
And then not on these slides, there's also talk of ESSER 3 funding coming in, which is also going to be big dollars. So there's a lot coming, but we don't have any exact answers yet. But we will be finding out soon.
Exciting.
So what's next? Spend smartly. I mean, it's with all these dollars coming in, it's really important to make a plan and spend the dollars smartly, and use them wisely. Gather more information on the revenues. We have negotiations for 21-22. Tighten up expenditure budgets where appropriate. Budget the last federal and state COVID related funds, and begin working on the 21-22 budget and LCAP.
Nice.
And that's all I got.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie.
Debbie?
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I said any questions or comments for Debbie? That was very thorough. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And for already spending smartly.
Okay, so if we don't have any comments or questions, any other comments or questions, this is an action item. We have a motion to approve the second interim report.
So moved.
Thank you, Rose. Do we have a second? Second?
I feel like I've been doing all of this tonight.
I feel like that too.
Would you like to motion? Would you like to be the second?
That's like the not heavy lifting. Second?
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie, very much. Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, Board of Trustees reports, comments, requests for information.
I would just restate my request for a tour at some point.
Yeah, no, let's reach out. Maybe, I think it's ideal actually the week after spring break to set up a couple opportunities. And I'd love to take you through the, whoever can come to junior high as well to see the new construction. So
yeah, you need to go see that because it's pretty awesome.
It's quite a change. Yeah.
I second that.
Really beautiful.
I have a note on my desk to make sure we do that.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, nice job. Not 9 o'clock.
Do we need to recess the session? Nope.
Oh.
All right, everyone. Happy St. Patty's Day and a well-deserved, restful spring break. Thank you.
Yes, everybody.
Sure.
Much needed.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone.
Good night.